Welcome, dear readers, to Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours trulies. I'm Three Raccoons in a Trench coat. I'm Khaki.
And I'm Kay. And remember, we only judge a book by its cover.
Yes, and what is the book for? What is the book that we're doing here on this podcast?
Today's book is Rules of Engagement by Elizabeth Moon.
Before we get into this book, perhaps we should catch the readers up on the unnecessary lore that has sprung up about this podcast. Although this time there's not that much to talk about. We've sort of stabilized in a comfortable area of the library. I've ditched my pro or anti-bear suit in favor of this rather fetching trench coat.
Yes.
As you can see. It's much more comfortable. I think it's much more me than the...
Are you getting enough sleep?
Little
you look a bit like you've got dark rings around your eyes.
Yeah, thank you for noticing. It's rather fetching, don't you think? It really brings out the sort of beadiness of one of my pairs of eyes.
I don't know what's happening, but sometimes I get the impression that there's another pair of eyes peeking out between the buttons of your trench coat.
Listen, I'm sorry, the buttons aren't... I wouldn't worry about it, though.
I don't. I'm just saying.
If I was you. Did you bring any more food? Because last time you brought that pasta, which was really quite lovely, after I took it down to the stream and gently washed it.
Yeah, which is weird. Why would you want to wash the sauce off the pasta?
Okay. Not washing before dinner, that seems unsanitary and inappropriate.
No, the pasta sauce washes away. I mean, I guess you can still have pasta, but
yes,
half the joy of the pasta is in the sauce. I mean, you could argue that the pasta is a sauce delivery mechanism.
Well, how do you make pasta, right? You put it in water.
Yes, so it's kind of already washed at that point.
So, but then...
And then you take it out and put the sauce on.
Like you just wash before dinner. Didn't your mother ever teach you?
Wash my hands before dinner.
Yes, you use your hands. Okay, we clearly have different traditions, which is appropriate considering the topic of this week's book.
Yes, this week's book is The Rules of Engagement. In a society where the quaint custom of stealing the bride is taken very seriously, Susan Black's career as a wedding planner is about to make a meteoric rise when she lands the contract for the Crown Prince's upcoming nuptials, which take on the scope of a land war in Asia or invading Russia in winter.
Yes. Now, I recognized at least one of those references in there as referring to The Princess Bride.
Is it?
Yes, I think it's the Sicilian during the chess game.
No, it's the poison drinking game.
Yes, that's the one. Who said, "You fool! You made one of the classic mistakes. One of which is getting involved in a land war in Asia." So I thought it was quite appropriate that there were further Princess Bride references throughout this book about marriage. Of course,
Princess Bride is a classic.
So I liked the fact that the nations or the planets in this story were named like the rival nations in The Princess Bride, Gilder and Florin.
Yes.
Which took me the longest time. I only saw the film to begin with, and it took me quite a long time to figure out. Hold on. They're named after old Dutch currencies.
Yes.
But these are now planets because the era in which this book takes place is significantly more advanced, as we can see on the covers.
Yes. We see Miss Black in her official wedding outfit.
And for the readers at home, if you look down at your podcasting device, you should be seeing the cover of today's book. And otherwise, check out the show notes or the website, covermyasscast.com, for an image and a link. And we see Miss Black in the traditional garb of an advanced wedding planner, so the headset, very important.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
And what she's wearing is like a power suit with metal armor, and that's an evolution of the traditional wedding planner fanny pack. So this is the FANNYPACK, which, do you remember what it stands for?
Oh, it's the, it is mentioned
in the appendices of the...
It is mentioned in the beginning of the book.
And it was like the... Frontal assault.
Neutral. Oh God, this is going to take forever, isn't it?
Nuclear. Tricky letter that way.
Yes. No.
Yoke. I mean, she's wearing it on her shoulders.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So made it through there. Then the yoke.
Powered
armor. Power armor. Yeah.
Powered assault.
Assault's in there twice. Okay,
well,
cool. Really in there. All right.
There's a lot of assaults happening.
Combat kinetic amplifier.
Sure.
Let's try it again. So
let's not.
The frontal assault. Neutral. Nuclear. Yoke. Powered assault. Combat kinetic amplifier.
Yes.
Wow. What a so it evolved from the fanny pack, the traditional garb of the wedding planner, because the wedding planner is present throughout the day, and the headset allows them to communicate with other
it make sure they keep catering in check, make sure the organist is ready to play, and of course it's a big affair. We're talking a royal wedding here between dynasties.
Oh, certainly.
So this is not a afternoon wedding affair. There's an entire week of events and
months of planning,
of
years
course, yes.
of negotiation.
So it starts with Miss Black from the Wedding Gurus agency, which is her own. She's a proprietor.
She's the founder. She's the
founder,
and CEO, and she's still like the chief agent.
Yes,
among her employees.
And it starts off with her doing a fairly high-profile wedding, but everything is just like
running very smoothly, and it's uneventful, other than the main event, which is exactly how you want.
Yeah, nothing out of the ordinary should happen. And if it does, then it was planned beforehand.
Yes, like the Soviet space program. Yes. I like that the Wedding Gurus. I mean, that's probably the kind of agency that I would go to if I wanted a big splashy wedding, and I especially love their slogan, "Stealing the bride."
Yes.
Stealing with two E's, representing, like, in part, they're famous for providing significant martial arts training to primarily the bride, but also the groom can attend as well.
Yeah.
And just the sheer, like, offensive and defensive capabilities of the vendors that they bring to bear.
Right. It's like when instead of having a Bollywood wedding where the couple is expected to do their dance routine. In these situations, it's more usual for there to be a martial arts, well, not exactly a tournament, but a fight scene.
Exactly. And to dissuade any disruptive elements or drunk uncles from trying to mess things up, because they can handle any problems.
Yes, I mean, the wedding planners make sure that they that those things don't get out of hand too much, but it works if there's a little bit of tension for the couple themselves to diffuse during the wedding, and to make sure that the guests have a good little show.
Because that's what weddings are for. Weddings are much more for the guests than for the couple. But this wedding in particular is a little fraught and needs the specific talents of Ms. Black, which she hasn't faced a challenge like this quite before. It should have been a cakewalk, after all. Like, the two parties, one of which is Prince Pity from Gilder, like, the dates of their conception for the prince from Gilder and the princess from Florin, they had been negotiated in advance. The conception, the birth, the first encounters, the education, like, all of that had been worked out to the finest detail, until in the end, it turned out they actually didn't want to marry each other, and Prince Pity fell in love with Bacheloretta the baker. Well, also from Florin, so still counts as a union between planets, but
it's it's going to be a little bit harder when like Bacheloretta the baker was not like part of the royal family, so
exactly.
This became a bit of a bone of contention, so to speak.
Certainly,
and especially the Padishah Orhan from Florin was not pleased that his daughter was being snubbed by the prince from Gilder.
I didn't really get these references. Are they references?
They're not really.
Okay, they're just cool names.
Not relevant. Padishah just means High King.
Yeah, I recognize that from Dune.
Which I always thought weird. It's like Padishah, the Padishah Emperor, the High King Emperor. Isn't that a little bit...
Redundancy is a beautiful thing.
The Department of Redundancy Department?
Yeah. Did you mean recursion? Oh, in the same way in Babylon 5, I love that the Centauri Republic has an emperor.
Yeah. Oh, the Republic has an emperor.
Yes.
Well, okay.
Because what are words, even? And it's so love blossoms between Prince Pity and Bacheloretta the baker, much to Padishah Orhan's chagrin and Princess Aja's relief and delight.
Right.
But, of course, none of this could have happened without the support of Prince Pity's mother, Dame Ferocia, who is the literal embodiment of a tiger mom. She is an actual very large tigress due to whatever genetic modifications were in sway.
In fashion,
yes.
Tiger mums are ferocious about protecting their cubs. I mean, most mums are, but like tigers specifically have a reputation for it.
And that's sort of reflected in Dame Ferocia's relationship with Prince Pity, but in the end, she still supports that he wants to marry for love. He has become the fine, upstanding citizen, and so he can, in fact, make these decisions for himself, and she will support it tooth and claw.
Literally.
Yeah.
So we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, though, because first there's the scene where, of course, like, she acquires the contract. I mean, she's contacted discreetly through the appropriate channels by the family. It's not as much that she's being hired, it's more that she's being informed that she will be organizing this wedding.
Yes.
Because, like, of course she's not going to refuse.
As the wedding planner, your duties include, okay, cool.
And, of course, this leads to a scene where she's, like, completely ecstatic, of course.
Yeah, she is high-fiving all of her employees. She's rocking out and doing a little dance, because a contract of this prestige does not land in your lap very often.
Chance of a lifetime. And, of course, when she's, like, in the gym later that night, she runs into her competition, her childhood rival, basically, from Wonder Weddings. And she can't help but rub it in her face a little bit about this fine new deal that she landed.
Now, her counterpart from Wonder Weddings is not a very cool person.
No.
She's stolen more than a few contracts, and she's deliberately tried to
sabotage
some of her weddings. So we are not surprised when the very next scene involves the representative from Wonder Weddings contacting the Padishah Orhan and negotiating a counter contract of her own to utterly ruin this wedding.
Oh, yeah.
We have a good old-fashioned wedding fight.
Yep, she contacts the famous wedding crasher, Robert the Cuck.
Yes. Oh, wow. And, what a character that was.
And she hires him to make the life of Miss Black as difficult as possible in the upcoming years.
Yeah,
This is 2 years in advance in the book that this scene takes place about the contracts being handed out and the first wedding, because from that moment on, any outstanding weddings that she had, agreements are cancelled. We're going to finish the one next month, and that's already been
handled by one of the employees.
That
talk to billing. I'll
give you a 10% discount, whatever.
So I like her style of wedding planning, because mostly, wedding planning usually starts with interviewing the bride and groom and seeing what they want. No, she skips that entirely because that has already been.
It's
there's protocols in place. Although the Florinian side, I mean, it is Bacheloretta the Baker does not have a lot of family protocols to obey. She's
whatever.
She's just extremely fond of this lovely young man, and yes, okay, he's the prince of whatever. I mean, he's not like a baker. He doesn't do anything important.
No, he never made a role in his life.
Utterly besotted. Well, he is very fond of her buns. They're delicious and firm, and she gets a
good icing now and again.
Yes, and any time that he visits her, he comes out with a nice firm baguette. So
it starts off that way, but
and by the end, it's more of a croissant.
And then the donuts have been glazed. Anyway,
so probably not much of that is going to be appropriate for the wedding. But with this absence of protocol, she has the opportunity to make some suggestions that, in order to balance out the extreme preparations and requirements of the Gilderian side of the wedding, are kind of readily accepted. And she doesn't have many ideas, so I think she basically just Googles for fun wedding practices.
Weddings, yes. And of course, she has to on the Gilderian side, there's the entire royal family and all the hangers-on, the government,
the
everybody.
Courtiers, yes.
Everybody is it's all completely planned for. But for the Florinians, a Bacheloretta the Baker has to we're going to need 150 people on your side of the wedding party. It's I can get around 150 invitations. No, that's the wedding party. That's not the amount of people that are going to be attending the wedding from your side. That's just the wedding party.
Yes,
we're going to need those. And she goes I don't even have that many friends. And
of course, Susan Black, she's an excellent wedding planner, and she goes, no problem, I will take care of this. So because she has an inadequate, and I like this, bride's guard. I saw this in a few of the weddings that I shot, where the bride and groom, and in one case both the grooms, they each had mixed gender groups of besties that they wanted with them, and so groomsmen didn't really apply,
right?
And bridesmaids also didn't apply, especially that the maid of honor was a dude himself.
Okay,
and, you can have a man of honor, that sort of works, but I like the more general term bride's guard and groom's guard, or bride's knights. With a K.
Nice.
That's also really cool. Ooh. Because there's sort of a defense force. And certainly literally in this case.
In this scenario, exactly that.
Yeah, Prince Pitty's side was expanded a bit with some additional boomsman infantry. Mm-hmm. Yes, and Bacheloretta gained some extra suicides-made commandos to ensure her safety and the smooth handling of any potential assassination attempts.
Yes, I love the suicides-made dresses with the reactive armor as protection against sniper attacks or whatever it is.
Yeah,
laser missile shields. It gets really out of hand really quick on this scale.
Yeah. I mean, we can see on the cover just how much Susan Black needs to be wearing herself. Just to this is just her fanny pack, which is the fanny pack is something that kind of gets mocked, mm-hmm. but it is so practical to just...
Well, it has everything that she needs. She has her heads-up display with her lists of contact persons.
She's got tissues, which you need very often.
She's got her bolter there in case someone needs shooting, which happens more often than you'd think.
Yes.
It's the only way you can get the caterers. Keep them in check, as long as any...
a royal wedding without assassins is kind of...
Yeah, it's like how they say it in Game of Thrones when about a Dothraki wedding, if there's not at least 3 casuals, it's considered a bit of a dull affair.
Oof.
In this case, it's like casualties are expected, and honestly, people try to prevent them as much as possible. But
if only because blood is a very tricky stain.
But it's not unheard of for people to get at least seriously injured during the proceedings, because after that, the first part, of course, is the invasion. It's like
which I at first thought was a metaphor, but like a cheeky euphemism. No.
First, there is the death race procession from Gilder to Florin, which is basically the groom and his mates having a race,
Mad Max style
race, ships crashing, bumping. Again, you're trying not to kill anybody, but there's a little bit
you're
of
trying to live on the edge,
jostling for position and making basically a nuisance out of yourself in the shipping lane,
racing through the asteroid cloud, knocking them out of orbit,
trying to bump them into your mates. Of course, that's where Robert the Cock has his first attempt at disturbing this.
Yes, the famous wedding crasher, and how better to crash a wedding than to smash an asteroid into this prince's spaceship.
Yeah, he has a little pirate band of ships which are trying to disrupt the death race procession towards Florin.
But thankfully, stealing the bride also applies to the groom, and of course, all of these craft are outfitted with high precision automatic laser weapons, which cut through at least the majority of these pirates with relative ease. But there's still quite a bit of a chase because now they've got them zeroed in on their 6.
And it makes it exciting. Of course, this is all televised. One of the press ships, the embedded officers, gets
Lucky Star, her name was.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
It was very good.
Yeah,
Pirates of the Asteroids, I believe.
Exactly. So we have the asteroid pirates.
I don't know, episode 36. No.
I'm not doing callbacks.
No, oh no.
Didn't I say?
Yes, you did. I don't know why. It's like you were also good at those. It's almost like you lost a little bit of backstory there.
Yeah, well, no, clearly I still enjoy ranting and raving about certain topics, and it tends to be mostly the ones that were surface thoughts that, if I was stuck in a heavy delirium in a medicine lodge, that's the kind of thing that I would be babbling about. Those I still remember.
Okay.
Obviously, but all the more detailed stuff that I wouldn't be babbling about while I was being interrogated by raccoons in a medicine lodge, they just don't come up anymore.
That sounds oddly specific.
No, it's a German expression.
Okay.
You hear that a lot up in the north.
Raccoons aren't native to Germany, you know that?
Waschbären? Yeah, they are.
No, they're not. They're an invasive species.
Yeah, they sure are.
What's that look you're giving me?
I'm sorry. I'm just twirling the tufts of my cheeks.
Don't remember your whiskers being that long.
I haven't shaved in a while.
No,
Can we get back to the book, Kay?
Yeah, sure.
I think it's very important that we do the book
go.
because that's what people come here for.
Right. Okay. So the death race procession arrives at Florin.
Yes, and the remains of the pirate band, they appropriately crash into the ocean harmlessly, and the first of the Wonder Weddings attacks is thwarted. There's a nice little vignette of the Padishah Orhan going drat and snapping his cane over his foiled again.
Yes, well, in the meantime, Princess Adja is just kind of laying back and enjoying her the TV coverage, and I am so glad I'm missing out on this.
She is just binging space Netflix. She's got her friends over. She's got some chocolate and champagne. She's just having a great time. Woo! I love a royal wedding. Look! Here we go, girls.
More mimosas.
Who's up for poker?
So yes, Bachelorette the baker is stolen from Florin by the death race procession and carted off.
Stolen, obviously, with huge bunny fingers.
It's tradition. There's a little bit of gunfighting in the streets as is appropriate.
And this was one of the first foreign traditions that comes from Space Canada, the charivari. Also known as the chivalry.
Yeah.
It's generally done to show social disapproval by making a very noisy procession, much like the death race procession, either carrying the offender or an effigy of the offender or someone pretending to be the offender, and just doing an almost a public shaming.
Oh. Has it related to weddings?
So when a particular wedding is legal but scandalous and disapproved of by the community, for example, a widowed person remarrying within days of the death of their spouse, or a significant age difference that, while legal, is just disapproved
kind
of.
Kind of not what we'd like to see.
Yeah, and so I mean I can understand that they revive this tradition because the death race procession did cause a lot of collateral damage accidentally.
Well, what can you do? It's a royal wedding. Of course, there's going to be casualties.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not very major. Like,
there's always going to be Republicans who are going to be protesting against royalists. There's like always.
That's true.
Yeah, you're not going to escape. That's like, oh, it's a waste of money. It's danger. It's like, but yeah, they don't have eye for tradition.
And there we see Susan Black like exercising excellent judgment, because she recognizes that this charivari is not getting out of hand.
No.
So this can be...
Let it go. It's
literally diffuses the situation as she turns off the countdown timer on the suicide's maid's bomb vest.
Yeah. Bachelorette the baker gets kidnapped. All in good play, of course.
So she's kidnapped by the groom's guard and not by the prince himself, because this sort of matches an Eastern European tradition that I'm very fond of, where on the evening before the wedding, the groom's mates steal his bride and take her out for a night on the town. Wherever she wants to go, they go there. They go party. Whatever she wants to eat, they go and do that. But they're her chaperones. And meanwhile, they're sending back messages to the groom, who is sitting at home with the bride's parents, doing nothing, demanding ransom
for the bride,
increasing the demands over time. All of which is used to pay for her night out.
Right.
And it's kind of a cool.
And there's like pictures of her at the strip club, and who but Robert the Cock shows up, of course.
Yes.
I mean, this is like the perfect time to throw a spanner in the works of a wedding.
Yeah, and he sure does try, because that's also part of this tradition. Like, she's out on the town and she's having some drinks with a bunch of fine young men, all of whom are single, and she might be tempted, and it is a sign of great faith on the part of the groom to obviously trust her and to accept higher ransoms and to pay for her to have a good night out. And also, if he doesn't do that, then she knows that he is an untrusting kind of person. She might rethink. And if she does, in fact, wander off with someone, well, maybe she wasn't that serious about the marriage.
Maybe it wasn't meant to be, yeah.
So it's a good little test. I read about a Canadian, it's probably pan-European, but I read about it in terms of, like, 19th century Canada, bundling, which was a euphemism for sleeping together as part of courtship.
Yeah.
So courtship, I mean, this was a very, like, prudish, stuck-up time. Yeah. Courtship was very formal and very organized and very public. But there was also occasions where the young man, the suitor, came over to the bride's house, and with the permission of her parents and their full knowledge, like, they spent the night together.
Yes.
Keeping a few articles of clothes on.
Right.
And it was generally, like, accepted that actual intercourse would not take place.
No.
But they try stuff out.
A little bit of heavy petting. And,
just get some experience.
Yeah, see if
you like each other.
Have a little bit of fun, but not too much, yeah.
And it was a good way to do that, because it was very private. And then if anything did happen, like an accidental pregnancy, then both families could still save face and, like, arrange an emergency wedding, because it was all known about. Like, they could figure out the date.
Yeah, totally. And it's remarkable how in churches it's entirely possible for the entire congregation not to notice that the bride is 6 months pregnant. It's like
yes.
It's amazing. The kid was like born only 3 months after the wedding, and like so healthy, and it's a miracle.
Yep. I was born after 5 months myself. I was a very premature baby.
Yes. That's a good thing that you came out that everything was fine and that there was
I mean, I'm a little skinny, and like my knees seem to be down very, very low, but.
Cheap pants, expensive shirts.
Yes, exactly. But the trench coat suits me well, and my whiskers are lovely and shiny. So Robert the Cock has researched Bacheloretta the baker and tried to figure out what she really likes.
Well.
And as a renowned pickup artist, he's wearing, obviously, his fedora.
Oh,
yes.
God, yeah.
Yes.
Is it not a trilby?
Very good. That is exactly the kind of thing that these kinds of people do. They wear a trilby, and they call it a fedora.
Yes.
And they wear it indoors, which, as an affectation, like, I kind of... Okay, I'm not innocent of having worn a hat indoors. Like, it's a bit of a fashion accessory as well. So I can't mind him too much. But yeah, he does the whole thing where he goes, milady, pulling down the brim of his hat. Yeah. And at first, we think, I mean, I was honestly very worried myself that Bacheloretta, who was pretty soused at this point, and having a great old time, was going to be fooled by him. Like, she actually takes
it seems like that it's going to go south, and the Boomsman infantry are watching in like horror at what's going on, and oh my God, is Robert the Cock actually going to get Bacheloretta?
His hands are moving south.
Miss Black is like sweating in her already. Yes.
until Bachelorette the Baker, in the middle of quite a charming twirl to the thrumming beat of Stayin' Alive, delivers a fantastic uppercut followed by a left hook. She knees him in the knee, which is a real power move, sweeps the legs from under him. Yeah. And even when Robert the Cock's backup show up into the fray, like it becomes that finest of wedding traditions, the hen fight and the stag doom.
Yes.
So, yes, more casualties, more people being flung through windows, a significant amount of violence.
Noses bloodied, honor satisfied, and Miss Black calls off the drone strike just in time to make sure that after she sees that things are starting to fall into place.
Yeah, and I like that she sort of keeps herself on the background a little bit, but she is very proud of how well this bride has been steeled.
Oh, it's amazing. She takes to the traditions extremely well. I mean, she's
the traditional bridal jujitsu. Yeah,
she's been coached, of course, by Miss Black, but she's happy to see how well she's performing them now that she's under active duty and active pressure.
Exactly, and she shares that with Dame Ferocia when she gives her morning reports, who, as the Tiger Mum, is also quite proud that Prince Pity handled himself so well in his own assassination attempt, because that was the Stag Doom. That was a cybernetic stag charging through the city at him, whom he arm wrestled down to the ground.
Grab him by the horns and just get him to the ground. It's a Stag Doom and hen fight satisfied. Of course, there's a day or two of recuperation and make sure that all the relevant parties are out of the hospital again.
Oh yeah, exactly. Have time for the bones to set.
Right. And then there's the luxury cruiser to Battle Royale Island, where the traditional fight between the entire wedding party is everybody is dumped on this luxury island and meant to dish it out. And it's not necessarily martial. There's much more slipping roofies and getting people.
I like that because they have to run for the pile of weapons, and the weapons are mostly like booze and pills and decks of cards,
couple of garrote wires, syringes, stuff like that. How do you call it?
Mime it for the readers at home.
Okay. Drug-laced condoms.
Is that what you... Okay, that could have gone a lot of different ways. I thought it was like a very large and unwieldy toothbrush that you were miming.
Oh, let's go with that.
But I thought that this was rather a cool tradition. That reminded me of the German tradition of the Polterabend, the noise evening. Yeah. Usually several nights before, where dishes are smashed and pots are banged. It's sort of like
just making noise and
for good luck. Sort of like the same result as the charivari, but with a much more positive meaning. That the darling couple are expected to be present and sweep up the shards afterwards.
Ah, okay.
And so this tradition of Battle Royale Island, where all the invited guests, rather than the planted military defense forces, have to sort of hash out any rivalries.
It's a good way of getting rid of animosity and stress between the two families and everything. And of course, this is like...
Passive aggression gets vented through aggression.
Right.
They're all trained in royal jiu-jitsu.
The right people are being slept with, creating spouses are being seduced or drugged, and then...
drumming up some more business for herself in the future, of course.
There might be more weddings, and this is her chance. After this, any famous socialite or anything will also want a wedding done by Miss Black, because she did
they want a wedding guru wedding, which is almost ruined because Wonder Wedding seizes another opportunity to interrupt the proceedings by firing rice artillery at the Battle Royale Island.
That's completely uncalled for. That's something to be done after the ceremony. Having rice at this point would be an incredibly bad omen.
And also that they're fired in balls of several thousand kilos onto an island where people don't have shelter. But the energy shield and
the point defense laser systems come in handy.
They obliterate these balls of rice before they do any damage. And in one point,
the reactive armor of one of the
Suicide's Maid?
The Suicide's Maid, that's the word.
With her jetpack, she rather nobly sacrifices herself to take out a particularly troublesome
she survives.
barrage.
She has to be taken to the hospital. But again, there's medic crews standing by for exactly this kind of thing.
And I thought it was very cool that because she did come back with her wedding dress armor irreparably damaged, that the other Suicide's Maid and even the bride herself adapted their dress to match this. So we came rather fetching, with exposed flanks.
It did very well on YouTube or whatever it is that they have.
Space YouTube. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Why make it difficult for ourselves? And so the morning arrives where the Greek tradition of essentially grooming, where the groom's guard do the shaving and the dressing up of the groom.
Gets taken to the hammam, and
I don't think that's a Greek thing. I think they do.
It's whatever they call it in Greece. It's
bath.
bath,
I think.
I suppose, yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, like taking a straight razor to his throat, and I mean, this would be an opportunity for Robert the Cock to disguise himself as one of the grooms and get an actual knife to the groom's throat.
Hard to be disguised when you're wearing bugger all.
That is the downside. And when he does try, like, he is given away by his significant difference in weight with the other groom's guard and the trilby that he still insists on wearing into the bathhouse.
It's not a big mistake. Successful. It's like for someone who's such a famous wedding crasher, he really should be able to.
I don't understand how he gets this reputation for being able to infiltrate anywhere, because he always wears his stupid trilby, which he calls, do you like my fedora, lady?
Yes. It's like he can't have any other opening sentence than that.
He immediately tries the same with the bride, not very successfully, because her house is already set up with door games. They're a popular tradition for weddings. It makes things a little bit difficult.
Like filling the house up with little styrofoam cups which are half full of water.
What?
Oh, it's when the bride and groom come home and then the entire ground floor of the house is covered with like little cups of styrofoam. It's just like harassing the couple, or like having it having the house full of balloons, like one in 10 is filled with confetti or something like that.
So no. Yeah, these are little challenges for the groom to find his bride. Like, there's the Slovenian tradition of decoy brides, which is rather fun. So he shows up. Okay, I'm here to pick up the bride, and the father of the bride says, "Oh, right, no problem. Here she is," and he brings out a broom in a dress.
In a dress. Okay.
Starts out with a broom in a dress to try and fool him into marrying this one instead.
Right.
He goes, no, I'll not have that. And then Mum comes out, and then usually some of his friends come out, all dressed as the bride and made up and pretending to be the bride and trying to fool him.
Wilfred the Hairy into the dress.
Yeah, he was quite fetching. I think that Prince Pity,
Rusty Beard gave it away, but it's
he took a second look at that and thought,
that's okay.
No, it'll be Bachelorette of the good try though, very good try. But I think it's Wilfred the Hairy who does wind up taking one for the team and sneaking off with Robert the Cock.
Yes,
who is a little bit confused about it.
Kind of gets manhandled out, and he's cuts his losses at this point.
Here we go. The wedding itself passes with very little fanfare.
Yes,
with an actual fanfare.
But
in a last-ditch effort, Wonder Weddings has tried to lace the cream of the wedding cake with various fun poisons that are hard to detect. And it seems like this is going to be the death knell for this wedding as they approach to cut it. And then the cake gets wheeled aside, which they ignore, because instead they do a traditional French croquembouche.
Oh.
Yeah, this is a pyramid of these little choux pastries. So these cream-filled pastries, cemented together with hardened caramel. So
I've seen those. Yes, it's basically a huge tower in this case, of course.
It's great.
And Miss Black had that standing by, of course. And it's there was all this foo-fa about the cake, which was
and it had to be perfect. She was down to the last
been
detail.
All the cooking blogs and shows, and there's a whole season of cake bakers directed just to the making of this cake, all the decorations, and it turns out that right in the end it just gets catapulted out. It's and now she pushes a button on her thing and it gets flunked out, and rather than the tradition of smearing the cake in the face of the bride and groom, this gets just shot out over the wedding guests, and there's loud cheering, and then of course the croquembouche is rolled out and presented as the actual wedding cake
with the traditional I think mallet and chisel to try and break these little delicious balls out without breaking them.
In the past, more used for getting rid of the chastity devices which were placed on the bride and groom. But in more modern times, the implements have been retained, but they are now used for disassembling the cake.
And we end with what is probably my favorite wedding tradition of all the ones that I've attended. And I saw this at a Serbian-Croatian wedding, so a bit of a mixed marriage.
Yeah.
At the very end, a large loaf of bread, quite delicious, was passed around the guests, and everyone tears a piece off.
Yeah.
And there's no set pieces.
Isn't it a bit Catholic?
Oh, do they do that as well? At weddings?
Well, not at weddings, but in church.
Oh, that seems fun. As does the final wedding tradition that they borrowed from Sweden. Rather a nice one. Whenever the bride or groom leaves the room, all the men or women or whatever mixture stand up and line up to kiss the member of the darling couple that's left over. So if the bride has to excuse herself, she knows that all the girls and probably some of the dudes are going to spend the time kissing her groom to hurry back.
Yes. What if she comes back before the line they get to the end of the line?
tough luck. You should have been earlier. So it becomes quite a competitive one.
No, I can see that, yeah.
And their faces are usually covered with lipstick, because I think even the dudes like to wear lipstick just to leave their mark.
I think that's like a very male thing to do. But yes, the royal ball goes off without a hitch. And
I do love a good ball.
A couple of death threats, but
they're
that's
very famous for their balls, these Florinians.
Well, especially when you're the groom, it's nice to have a good pair.
Yeah. And a fine pair they make. And happy ending was enjoyed by all.
Miss Black finally enjoying her mimosa on the morning after.
Yeah, job well done.
And career made. Of course, the thank yous from the couple, they kind of pull her aside, and there's a little exchange between the happy couple and the wedding planner. And it's a nice, exciting book.
And I like that the hero is like not the central figure. The hero is the person who makes it happen. I mean, she enjoys her final mimosa and clinks her glass with Dame Ferocia, with whom she's become quite good friends. Where the heroic act of our protagonist is to make sure that other people are having a good time and
that they can shine, that they can have their moment,
and that they can be happy together.
And she selflessly puts herself literally in danger to.
She fires her jetpack and joins the anti-aircraft squad.
Yeah.
So I thought I was really charmed by this. I think Elizabeth Moon is a fantastic writer to be able to so deftly entwine the complexities and stresses of marriage, one of the foremost traditions in many cultures, with warfare, one of the foremost pastimes of many cultures.
I mean, there's a lot of that happening in a lot of wedding traditions. Like, there's a lot of fighting, stealing, treachery, and finally, in the end,
love wins the day.
Unification, yes, which is what it's all about, of course.
So, how are we going to rate this book?
I mean, I don't know. How do you rate a wedding?
Obviously one can't.
Yeah.
This is problematic for myself sometimes as well. When somebody asks me, "What is your favorite wedding?" I immediately just look around because who's listening? Wait,
is there anybody here that
who sent you? Who said? Why are you asking?
Very good.
That's a potentially career-ending question to a
wedding photographer,
professional in general. Yeah. So what's like a wedding number? I mean, 2, but I think we've done 2.
Oh yeah, difficult.
So we've got the Battle Royale, we've got the Polterabend. The hen fight and the stake of the Charivari. Gilder and Florin.
Florins. Yes.
How many guilders to the florin?
Oh, that depends on the exchange rate.
Right? That's tricky.
I mean, traditionally the sign for a guilder is still FL, back when we still had the guilder here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Which came from florin.
Which I think we borrowed from Florence. Yes, I think that was a little Italian Florentine currency.
I'm sure there was some Italians involved in the politics over here at some point.
Well, the Medici Bank maintained a very stable currency for certain decades and centuries. Okay, we're not getting any closer.
Wedding cake.
Yeah, wedding cake is a good one. Yeah. Do you think that this was a top tier book?
It was definitely top tier.
Yeah, right.
I just love how Miss Moon describes the scenes and how she's
the food
and this food and how. And Miss Black is a strong, determined woman.
Yeah, with exquisite armor and her fanny pack. Do you remember what that stands for?
No.
So the frontal. Come on, give it a try. Try it with me.
The frontal assault, neutral, nuclear, yoke,
powered assault. Combat kinetic amplifier. That's
right. Yes. There we go. We actually remembered it.
So we think that this is a top tier book. And speaking of Jesus, that's a exciting plane.
Oh yes,
it's coming really low.
I think that might be the assault thing. The last assault by I Wonder Weddings on the on the podcast review of this book.
Oh yeah, and speaking of reviews, if you'd like to let us know what you thought about the podcast, please leave a review on your service of choice, and please review an episode you haven't listened to yet and just imagine what it was about. We'd also love to hear from you. We're covermyasscast@gmail.com and we're covermyasscast on Twitter. Now, what do we have in store for our readers next week?
Next week's book is by Alec Gaines. It's the Karma Sutra, the autoerotic handbook, a manual of sex positions for in-car entertainment.
That covers it. Thank you for joining us at Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours truly. My name is Khaki.
And I'm Kay. And remember, we only judge a book by its cover.
I kind of fancy I'd love a coq on douche now.
Or a mimosa.
No, I kind of want to pick up that hammer and chisel and take one of those delicious little cream-filled pastries down to the river and gently wash it.
Then get rid of the caramel and the cream.
So clean.
And then you'd have, like, soggy pastry.
So clean.
I mean, soggy biscuit is one thing.
Dear diary, it's been 2 weeks since I last saw Kay. I'm still trying to cycle through the library on the Threegle 3. I do hope I find him soon. I have found these raccoon droppings, so I think I might be getting closer. I'll write back soon, which is a weird thing to say to your diary, but I'm going a little stir crazy. Bye, love you.